Okay, friends, real quick, you know that I am all about creating rhythms that bring families closer together. And I have to tell you about two of my favorite tools from goodkind.co. We've entered the Burr months, and that means that Christmas is right around the corner. And Advent blocks are a perfect, simple, and meaningful way to celebrate Advent with your kids. No Pinterest stress, no overcomplication, just a beautiful, hands on way to tell the story of Jesus and make December feel intentional instead of chaotic. This has become my absolute favorite tradition. My 4-year-old absolutely loves turning the blocks each day, and honestly, I look forward to it as much as he does. Even my teenager enjoys this tradition. So honestly, I call that a win. And second, the gratitude. This little cube sits on our table and sparks conversations about gratitude. It is such a fun, easy way to shift the atmosphere in your home, whether it's at dinner, bedtime, or even in the car. My boys actually ask to use it, which says a lot. So if you want to bring more joy, gratitude, and Jesus into your family's daily rhythm, go check them out at goodkind.co, where meaningful traditions are made simple. And make sure to use the code that's listed in the show notes to get your discount. Welcome to the Married and Connected podcast, where real talk meets real solutions for your marriage. I'm Cameron Thompson Alaricki, a certified marriage coach and relationship expert. And on this podcast, I will show you what research, faith, and real life couples all point to. Marriages thrive when you build them with intention. So whether you've been married 2 years or 42 years, you'll find the tools, encouragement, and unfiltered truth that, if applied consistently, will help you in whatever way you need, big or small. So let's make your marriage stronger, starting right now. Welcome back to another episode of the Married and Connected podcast. Today, we are going deep into something that many people feel, but very few can name. And that is the mother wound. We are going to take a look at how it's formed, how it shows up differently in men and women, the ways that it sabotages your marriage, and practical steps that you can take as a partner, as a mother, and as an individual to both heal yours and to prevent the next generation from carrying the same pain. This episode is rooted in attachment science and intergenerational research and evidence-based couples therapy. And before we get started, I want to just make a note here that if you've already raised your kids and they are grown, this is absolutely not to shame you whatsoever. If you are a mother and you're doing some of these things for your kids, it's not too late to change it. It's not too late to switch it around and to own it and say, hey, you know what? I have messed up. I've been doing the best that I can with what I had, and I'm learning better. I'm learning to do things differently. And I'm sorry. I am so sorry for hurting you in these ways. And I am going to do X, Y, and Z to make sure that that doesn't happen moving forward. So knowing that, let's get started. So for starters, what is the mother wound and why does it even matter? What's the point, right? What do we mean when we say a mother wound? Clinically, it's not a diagnosis. It is a way to describe the emotional injuries that come from key early experiences from a mother or a primary caregiver. It's inconsistent responsiveness. It's emotional unavailability. It's enmeshment. It's over control. It's parentifying your kids and making them responsible for your emotions. Or maybe you had that done from your parents. It's neglect. It's criticism. It's abuse, not just physical abuse, but mental abuse, calling you names, being emotionally abusive. So those early patterns form our internal working models and the templates that we bring into our adult relationships. So in short, basically it's how you were mothered helps script how you love and how you expect others to love you. And the reason I'm doing this podcast is that I see it from both sides. I see it from men and I see it from women constantly. And this is the heart of attachment theory, which is everything, absolutely everything. Your attachment style makes up your insobriety. It makes up your emotional insobriety. It makes up how you show up in your relationship or how you don't. And Decades of research show that early caregiving shapes adult romantic relationships and attachment, and these patterns are then transmitted across generations unless, this is the key, unless they're intentionally interrupted. And that's not moral judgment, it is scientific pattern. So, knowing all of this is going to be liberating for you because learned things can be unlearned and you can relearn something different. Okay. So, knowing that, how does the mother wound typically show up in men? Now, again, we're going to get into the women part too. So, just stick around. When men carry mother wound patterns into adulthood, oftentimes they express them in ways shaped both by early attachment and cultural socialization. So these patterns are really common. They are not character defects. Please know this. They are not character defects. And here's how they often appear: withdrawal and emotional shutdown. When criticism or high emotional intensity, so your mom, if you're a man and your mom got really emotionally big, yelling, slamming doors, screaming, outbursts. So now if you see your wife doing any of the same things that your mom did, it triggers an old alarm system from your childhood experiences where upset meant withdrawal or abandonment. And so what happens is that a lot of men's immediate strategy is to withdraw then. Work longer hours, escape into your to-do list, all your tasks, or you just shut down. You just completely go silent. And in attachment terms, this often maps to avoidance strategies, dismissive avoidance strategies, developed to protect a fragile system. So it is literally your fight or flight response saying, oh, no, 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 this did not feel good when I was a kid, and now it does not feel good in my marriage. Another way that it shows up is perfectionism and approval seeking. So if care felt conditional in childhood, you had to earn that love, you had to work for it. Many men grow into adults who measure worth by performance. They may overwork. They may become defensive over even perceived criticism. Their wife comes to them and says, hey, this isn't working for me. And instead of saying, okay, are her words critical? Are they attacking my personality? Are they attacking my character? Or are they attacking a situation and a circumstance, a behavior? Those are not the same thing. But if it's perceived criticism, or if she is criticizing your character, that may be a way that you cope too. Or, and here's a big one that I see, especially in those who cheat, you chase external validation. These patterns are tied to shame dynamics and conditional self-worth. The more that you work for that love, the more that you do means you're going to be loved by that person because that's what you had to do in childhood. Now, here's where this also gets messed up, is that if you work and work and work and work and work, and your wife is constantly coming to you saying, this isn't working for me, now the narrative in your head, the filter is, oh, I'm never going to be able to earn her love. So that's where you go and you chase external validation so that you can get that dopamine hit. Another way is repeating the parental dynamic in your partner choice. Some men unconsciously select partners who echo patterns that they learned from their mothers, either replicating consistency, like they seek what was missing, or repeating the same enmeshment and withdrawal dynamics. And the literature on intergenerational patterns and mate choice supports this tendency. Another way is anger and irritability as masked vulnerability. So where vulnerability is felt unsafe in childhood, a lot of men are going to learn to express pain through anger. Anger is an accepted emotion with men. You get sad, you show anger. You get scared, you show anger. You get irritated, you show anger because that is accepted culturally. Gendered socialization often routes vulnerable affect into anger or irritability, which then becomes a relational problem in your marriage because you're the one that's blowing up every time you don't like what's being brought to the table, or you're shutting down every time you don't like what's being brought to the table. Another way that it shows up with men is the expectation of being mothered. Some husbands unconsciously expect their partner to provide the kind of caretaking that their mother provided or failed to provide. So they pick a partner who is exactly like their mom, or they pick a partner who gives them what their mother never did. And that creates this parent-child pattern instead of an adult partnership. Over time, it's almost like that's why you chose your partner, but then you start to resent her for that. I'm independent. I can do it myself. Okay, then why aren't you? I can do it all. Okay, then why aren't you? And then your wife's having to tell you, take out the trash, pick up your clothes, put your clothes in the hamper, not by the hamper. She's telling you the exact same thing she's telling your kids. And that's not cute. It's not attractive on either part. You, as the man, don't like being mothered. And she, as your wife, wants to feel like she has a partner, not like she's having to mother you. And if you missed the last 2 episodes on what husbands and wives want each other to know, go back and listen to those, because this is a really big pattern that's being replicated over and over and over in marriages that I'm coaching. Now, why does this matter in your marriage? Well, for starters, if you're the one that withdraws, that looks like rejection to your partner. Constantly being rejected, you're not going to want to stick around. Perfectionism looks like arrogance. It looks like you never accepting their influence. It looks like you arguing every single time they bring something to the table. And anger looks like hostility. Nobody's going to want to stick around in a marriage where they don't feel like they're wanted or desired or liked. So without understanding the underlying wound, couples respond in ways that unintentionally reinforce the original hurt. But we've been taught for so many years, constantly saying, oh, well, I had a great childhood. I didn't have anything bad in my childhood. I had a great childhood. Were your parents emotionally there for you? Were your parents emotionally attuned? Because if they weren't, you didn't have a great childhood. And that's a really hard pill to swallow. So the thing is, we don't want to blame our parents. It's easier to blame our partner. Our partner is just replicating what we learned in childhood. So it's like going to the doctor and them giving you a pill because your knee hurts. Well, your knee hurts because your ACL's blown. We're not fixing the root problem unless we go back to the childhood and we fix the individual hurt that our parents caused, that our partner's just replicating, or that we are perceiving to be replicated. Now, if you hear yourself here in any of this, please understand you are not broken. You are not broken. You are human, and you can change the pattern. Now, how does this mother wound typically show up in women? The mother wound for women appears very differently, not exclusively in women. These expressions are shaped by attachment, again, plus socialized expectations about relational care and how women are to show up in their marriages. So the way that it shows up for us, for women, is first, enmeshment and lack of boundaries. If mothering was over involved, a woman may have trouble separating her identity from others, which leads you to lose yourself. I just talked to a client this morning and she said, I've been married 27 years and I've completely lost myself. I have no idea who I am, what I like, what I want, because I've given it to everybody else. That's mother wound right here, leading to that enmeshment and a difficulty in saying no. You feel like you have to do for your kids. You feel like you have to do for your husband. You have to show up. You have to do what they need because you don't have any boundaries. You may take on others' emotions as her own. If your husband's not okay, you're not okay. If your kids are having a meltdown, you're not okay. You're having a meltdown too. And another way that it shows up is chronic caretaking and emotional labor. Many women become the household emotional managers. And we see this constantly. We see this all over on social media right now. One of emotional labor, invisible labor, these are words that are coming up constantly. I mean, you're hearing these just as much as you're hearing the word narcissist, okay? Many women are becoming household managers, smoothing moods. You're anticipating needs, and you're doing this invisible labor to keep relationships functioning. This wears women down. And then what happens is that we get resentful, but it's our own fault. Anytime you have resentment, and I've said this so many times, I'll say it, this is a hill that I will die on. Anytime you have resentment, it is because of your own expectations. Either they're too high, they're unspoken, they're unrealistic, they weren't communicated well, whatever the case may be. A lot of times, it's because you lack boundaries. And a boundary is not an ultimatum. Well, if you do this, then I'm going to do that. No. It's if this happens, here's how I'm going to respond. You never use the word you in a boundary, because a boundary does not have anything to do with somebody else's behavior. Another way that it shows up is perfectionism tied to conditional approval. So this is a little bit like the performance-based love for men. Perfectionism in women is a thing too. So like men, women can tie your worth to performance. But this often shows up as hypervigilant parenting, being that helicopter parent, people pleasing, which is a big one. Men people please too. Or they overwork to secure love and approval. So they'll just not say anything in an argument, or they'll start agreeing with their partner, or they feel like they have to give their partner sex, or they have to keep the house clean in order to be loved. The motive for doing what they're doing is not out of giving. It's not out of what they need. It's out of what everybody else needs. And that's what creates the resentment. Another way, last week we talked a lot about how men carry a lot of shame. Women carry a lot of guilt and self-blame as well. Women carrying mother wounds may internalize blame for relationship problems, assuming that if they had done more, things would be different. And this, I can tell you from experience, and I can tell you from a lot of women that I speak to, a lot of women are staying in their marriages even though they've been unhappy for years, simply because of the self-blame. Well, I haven't done everything I possibly can to make this marriage work. Well, I haven't done more. I need to do more. I need to do more. I need to do more. And they assume that if they do everything more, things would be different. Laura Doyle is another coach that, yes, I am calling her out because she is one that she promotes this. And guys, this is another reason you have to be really careful about who you listen to on the internet, because she promotes women being the entire problem and that women can fix their marriages on their own without their husband's buy-in. And that is so dangerous. You can't. This is what happens, is that women assume that they could have done more and that things would be different. And then that fosters this chronic guilt and reduces honest communication between both parties. Another way that it shows up is replicating or overcorrecting maternal scripts. So daughters may repeat their mother's patterns, or they swing hard in the opposite direction and overcompensate. Both constrain partnership and parenting. So it's that whole idea of being a product of your environment or being a product because of your environment. Here's how the mother wound causes problems in marriage. So these are the mechanics of it. Let's name those. So how these patterns actually sabotage intimacy is misattuned responses. One partner withdraws while the other escalates. It's that classic pursue withdraw cycle that we see most often in the anxious preoccupied and the dismissive avoidant, or the fearful avoidant and the dismissive avoidant, but the fearful avoidant leans more anxious preoccupied. Attachment science shows that these cycles are driven by fear. It's fear of abandonment, fear of engulfment. A lot of times, your dismissive avoidant is going to have more fear of engulfment where both parties are going to have a fear of abandonment. And without new interaction patterns, the cycle strengthens. Another way that it shows up is role confusion. Those parent-child dynamics that we were talking about, when one partner mother figures the other, and then the adult bond collapses into this caretaking and dependency situation that destroys equality and completely erodes the desire. Another way is shame loops. Early shame resurfaces when a partner's criticized, or again, that perception of criticism. Shame shuts down your openness and increases your defensive blame. It is a lethal mix for emotional safety. And as we've talked about so many other times, you have to have, emotional safety is first base. When we are playing baseball, emotional safety is first base. Connection is second, emotional intimacy is third, and great physical intimacy is home plate. Transmission to children is another way that this shows up. These patterns become your family climate. There is such a thing as familial culture. And this is what it is. It becomes your familiar culture, where research on intergenerational transmission shows that parental attachment styles and sensitivity predict children's attachment outcomes. So in other words, the mother wound often begets more wounds if not addressed. Now, think about how that plays out in divorce as well. If you've been divorced and now you're remarried, the way that your mother wound shows up, especially if you're repeating patterns that caused your divorce in the first place, now those wounds are even escalated and amplified for your kids. So here's how the mother wound connects to attachment styles. Okay, we're going to do some simple scientific mapping here. All right, attachment theory gives us this common language to understand the wound. Secure caregiving, which is secure adult attachment. Okay, secure caregiving as a child creates a secure adult attachment. So you have comfort, you have closeness, you have autonomy as well. Okay, now what happens if we have inconsistent or intrusive caregiving? Then that's going to create an anxious, preoccupied attachment. The hypervigilance for rejection, the pursuit behavior. You're the one that chases your partner instead of there being a mutual desire for each other. When your partner feels like pulling away and because dismissive avoidants are amazing at self-soothing, you are the one chasing them. No, we have to talk about this right now. We have to fix it right now. You can't leave me. You're begging them to stay when they say that they're leaving. That is the anxious, preoccupied attachment, or the fearful avoidant that leans anxious, preoccupied. Now, if there's distance and dismissive caregiving, no, go to your room. We're not doing that. You need to take care of that on your own. Oh, you're gonna act like that? Okay, just go. We're not doing this. I'm not taking care of that. I'm not gonna handle this. You learn to become the dismissive avoidant, or the fearful attachment that leans dismissive avoidant. You have self-reliance. There is no interdependence there. So you withdraw. You withdraw all the time. And because there has to be polarity in a relationship, your dismissive avoidant or your fearful avoidant that leans dismissive is always going to attract either an anxious preoccupied or a fearful avoidant that leans anxious preoccupied, because there has to be polarity. If you have a dismissive avoidant and a dismissive avoidant, there's nothing to make the relationship work. It just fizzles out. There's literally no chemistry. If you have an anxious and an anxious, what ends up happening is this is grounds for the most abusive, verbally and emotionally abusive relationship you've ever seen in your life. Because they both have that hypervigilance for rejection. And it's a perception. It's the exact same fears. But that's where the hypocrisy comes in, because we're not realizing it as that way of oh, they have the exact same fears that I do. So what ends up happening is it just becomes toxic as hell. The dynamic that has the most polarity is your DA with your FA or your AP. The mother wound often produces anxious or avoidant strategies depending on the caregiving pattern. And you may not realize it, because nobody grows up thinking, my mom's not normal. My mom doesn't mother me in a normal way. That's just your mom. That's where you go for comfort and closeness and help. That's your mom. But these patterns then show up in your adult romantic relationships as the pursuit withdrawal cycles, as perfectionism, as emotional numbing. Anytime you emotionally numb out, that's what you've been taught. The research on attachment and intergenerational transmission is large and consistent. It is one of the most consistent types of research we have about relationships. Okay, so if you are at the point where you have just felt like, oof, yes, I relate so heavily on all of this, here are some practical evidence-based steps to identify and begin healing. No therapy required because, again, I don't gatekeep. But you're also going to do this with boundaries. So you asked for something actionable, a way that you can pinpoint your wound and begin to heal. I'm going to give you a step-by-step that's practical and rooted in therapy research, EFT, emotionally focused therapy, attachment work, parenting research, all of it. Okay. So here is an important caveat. All right. Now, I put this at the end of every single episode that this is not medical advice. And I am not a therapist. Okay. I am a coach. Wildly different. Wildly different. All right. By listening to this podcast, you are assuming the right here that I am not held responsible for anything that happens that you apply. All right. So if you have severe trauma, if you have abuse history, if you have self-harm, if you have suicidal thoughts, please, please, for the love of God himself, please seek professional help. Please seek a therapist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, someone who has clinical hours in this. All right. This episode is powerful, but it is not a substitute for specialized care because I don't know you. I don't know your situation, especially if you're not my client. All right. Now, step A, mapping the wound. This is going to be a self-assessment exercise. All right. Take a quiet 10-minute journaling session and just ask yourself, what did my mother or my caregiver do when I was upset? Did they comfort me? Did they ignore me? Did they shame me? Did they try to fix it? Did they minimize it? Did they dismiss it? How did I learn to get my needs met? Did I have to ask? Did I have to perform? Did I have to be perfect? Did I have to withdraw? Did I have to get angry and big? What patterns repeat in my adult relationships? Pulling away, needing approval, caretaking, perfectionism. Where do I most often feel shame or fear? In my body, with money, with competence, with love? And write short answers. This exercise is diagnostic. It helps you spot which pattern you carry, whether you're anxious, avoidant, whether you have enmeshment, all of that. Research shows that reflective awareness is the first step towards change in anything that you do. Self-awareness is always step one. Step B, you're going to name the pattern. And if you feel like you are safe enough emotionally to do this with your partner, then doing it with your partner could be wildly helpful for you in your relationship. So name the pattern. Once you name it, even if it's just an emotion that you're feeling, when you name that, you're actually taking away its power. So once you've noticed the pattern, say it out loud in a low stakes way. And you can say something like, I've noticed that I do X when we argue, and I think it comes from how I learned to handle stress as a kid. I don't want it to keep hurting us, though. Can we try something different next time? Can you give yourself a keyword that if your partner notices that you're doing the same patterns, that they can say something like umbrella or pineapple or purple or some random word that you don't say very often to remind you that, oh, yep, this is, I'm doing it again. This frames the issue as a pattern, not as a character flaw. Huge, huge for your healing. Okay, step C. Build corrective experiences. And this is relational therapy, and it's a very big relational therapy principle that you can do at home. So EFT and attachment research shows that corrective emotional experiences that are consistent and that are small relational moments that contradict old scripts are what actually rewire your attachment. So examples, okay? If you withdraw when you're criticized, practice a 3-word return. They can be something like, I'm scared, talk, and then follow with 2 minutes of co-regulation. Breathe together. Box breathing is wonderful if you're mirroring each other, right? So both of you are breathing in for 4, you're holding for 4, you're breathing out for 4, you're holding for 4. In 4, hold 4, out 4, hold 4. You can put your hand on your chest and take a deep breath. You can use a calm voice. If you repeat this 3 to 5 times over the next couple of weeks, over time, your brain updates. It's literally like no different than your phone updating and fixing the bug fixes. No different. Your brain is updating because you're doing something different. Your brain is updating and telling you, hey, not all criticism equals abandonment. It might have in your childhood, but this is not your mom. This is not your dad. You're a grown person and you're going to be okay. Now, if you mother and control, if that's your pattern, as it was mine, I want you to practice stepping back. Set a 30-day rule where you ask, do you want help or do you want me just to listen? Do you want help or you just want me to hang out? Before you fix it, let your partner do small tasks, even if they're not perfect. Your clothes aren't folded the way that you like it. Okay, at least they're folded. The towels are folded fine. And they're not in thirds the way that you do it, but they're in quarters. As long as they fit in the cabinet, it's fine. This creates autonomy, which then changes repeated relational outcomes. Your partner didn't pay a bill. Your partner overdrew the account. Your partner didn't do something they said they were going to do. Okay. Let natural consequences happen. You don't need to mother them. You don't need to be on them. You don't need to be the monkey on their back. Let the natural consequence play out. Does it suck? Abso-freaking-lutely. Are these hard to do? Yes. And also, not your mom. Not your mom. Step D, use behavioral experiments, again, on a 30-day plan. Pick one small experiment for 30 days. So if you are the withdrawer, 5-minute check-ins daily. Don't problem solve, just how was your day? And listen. Just stop and listen. Don't take anything personally. Don't hear criticism. Just how was your day? For those who are the caretaker or the anxious preoccupied, ask for help twice a week and practice receiving it. Even if it's something small, opening a jar. Hey, can you unload the dishes? Hey, can you do bath time tonight? For perfectionists, do one imperfect thing and notice the outcome. Notice the outcome. Small, repeated behaviors create new attachment memories. Now, here's a very big step, okay? This is step E. Your repair scripting. When arguments come up, I want you to use this short protocol, okay? First, I want you to pause and I want you to name the emotion, because remember, when you name the emotion, you take away its power, right? So I'm upset. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm emotionally flooded. 2 words, 2, maybe 3. Now, typically, I do teach you to use the 5-finger apology. In this case, I want you to just use one apology sentence. I'm sorry I overreacted. I'm sorry I yelled. One apology sentence and stop talking. So your partner apologizes, you're going to use one curiosity question. What's happening for you? Your partner is not a mind reader. And here's a very big point. Your brains, yes, you're doing the same things. Okay. Like if one of you is being childish, most likely the other one is too. If one of you is being self-centered, most likely the other one is too. If one of you is judging, most likely the other one is too. However, if you are anxious, preoccupied, your brain does not work the same way that a dismissive avoidance does, and vice versa. If you are a fearful avoidance, your brain does not work the same way as either of those, because you're running the whole spectrum, sometimes within a 10-minute period. Okay? So this question, what's happening for you, is huge. Let your partner into your world. Let your partner understand what's going on for you in that moment. Now, here's your next step. It is one specific next step. I will change this behavior this week. Okay? So, just to recap, pause and name the emotion. One apology sentence, one curiosity question, one specific thing you're going to do. Repair rituals short circuit shame loops. When you repair, especially when you're repairing in the moment, you literally cut the loop of doom off. The loop of doom that can sometimes spiral out of control for days and weeks at a time. You're literally you're disconnecting the entire loop. Next, parenting. If you are a mother, what can you do now to prevent a mother wound from happening for your children? If you are a mother or a future mother, listen closely. Here is the good news. Research tells us exactly what protects children from developing attachment wounds. You don't need perfection. You need sensitive responsiveness 80% of the time. That means noticing cues and responding in a reliably warm and predictable way. If your kids come to you for help, they know they're getting help. If they come to you and they're crying, they know that they're not going to be told, rub some dirt on it and go play. They know that you're going to say, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Meta-analytic research on intergenerational transmission highlights parental sensitivity as the strongest protective factor. When you are sensitive to your children's needs and their emotions, it is the biggest protective factor for them. Your children, until they are 7 years old, physically, emotionally, and intellectually cannot regulate their emotions on their own. They have to have help, which means that you have to let them come to you, give them a hug, breathe with them, show them how to box breathe, show them how to take a deep breath, show them how to soothe, hug, rock, just sit and breathe. Put your hand on your heart, put their hand on their heart. Put their hand on your heart and you put your hand on theirs and breathe together. Show them how to regulate their emotions. Now, here's the tricky part to that. If you can't regulate your emotions, you can't teach them how to regulate theirs. Here are some practical research-backed parenting moves. Be reliably present to your distress. When babies cry, you have to respond. The cry it out method does not work. This is precisely why 75% of us are running around with an insecure attachment style right now in the millennial, Gen X, or Gen Y generations. Because we were basically given the cry it out method. When babies cry, they are communicating. And what we learned by the cry it out method was our parent is coming. What we learned by the cry it out method is nobody's coming. Nobody's coming to save you. As an infant, figure it out yourself, even though you have virtually zero experience with this world. Now, you don't have to instantly fix every minor thing, but with a consistent pattern of comfort and containment, this is what builds a secure attachment style. Label the feelings out loud. I have coached hundreds of couples, and in every single couple, I give you an emotion wheel. This is the single best resource that you can ever do for you and your family. Google emotion wheel. Look at the one that is the most colorful. Print that sucker out, laminate it, put it in a sheet protector, something, put it on the refrigerator. Put it somewhere where it's going to be seen every single day. You learn with your kids. I am a huge advocate for homeschooling. Why? Because I learned just as much about things as what my kids did. My kids were interested in sea animals. Cool. I learned about sea animals. 1 year, 2 years actually, I had to teach Mason about government. I'm not going to lie. I didn't learn jack crap about our government when I was younger. I learned more about our government by teaching it to Mason through 4th grade through 6th grade, 6th through 8th grade, than I did when I was in 6th through 8th grade. So here's the deal with that. It is okay if you don't have the emotional vocabulary either. Learn it with your kids. Label feelings out loud. Oh, you're upset. I see that. I see that your face is scrunched up. I see there are tears coming down your face. I see that you're sad. This helps children learn emotional literacy, and it is a buffer against shame. Because again, when they are older, if they can name the emotion they're feeling, it's not going to have power over them. They will have power over their emotions. Number 3, allow manageable autonomy. Let children try things with scaffolding. Over control creates dependency. Under responsiveness creates anxiety. The balance is the key. Let them do hard things. And then praise that. Oh my gosh, you worked so hard. Don't tell your kids, oh, you're so cute. Oh, you're so smart. When your girls are in their everyday play clothes, tell them they're beautiful. When they're dressed up and they're wearing high heels and dresses, tell them they're fancy so that they don't associate being dressed up with being beautiful. When your boys are winning the touchdowns, or they're flipping tires, or they're building forts, or they're whatever it is they're doing, don't tell them, oh, you did such a great job. Tell them, oh, you worked so hard. And then ask them, are you proud of yourself? When they say, do you love it? Do you love what I did, mommy? You say, well, more importantly, do you love what you did? Okay, great. That's all that matters. Instead of teaching them that your opinion is the most important, teach them that their opinion is the most important in what they did. Teach them to have pride in what they're doing and how hard they're working. The next one is repair in front of them. I cannot tell you or stress enough how important this is. Children do not need to see a perfect marriage. They need to see you mess up. They need to see you apologize and fix that in front of them. Because here's what happens. And I know I've talked about this multiple times before, but if you are new here, this is important. If you argue in front of your kids and then you repair after they go to bed, all they see is the argue, and then tomorrow it's fine. So it's brushed under the rug. So when they get older, or they see you argue, they never see a repair, and then you get divorced, guess what they think? Oh, well, if I argue, we're getting a divorce. That creates anxiety. You have to repair in front of them. When you apologize because you messed up and you take accountability, you fix it in front of your child, this models healthy repair and reduces that intergenerational transmission of shame. It also teaches them accountability, which is the single most important factor in a marriage. It also teaches them how to apologize. It teaches them not to have shame, but to own it when you mess up and to fix it. Model emotional regulation. Kids learn how to manage emotion from watching their caregivers, especially dads. If you can self-regulate, your kids are going to learn the skills to do the same. Now, again, not about perfection. 100% not about perfection. They're about creating a predictable, emotionally attuned environment. The evidence is so strong for this. Sensitive parenting, not snowflake parenting, not permissive parenting. Sensitive parenting reduces the risk of insecure attachment and later transmission of relational wounds. If you can regulate your emotions, your kids will be able to do the same. And then you're teaching conversations. Hey, this is why this happened. Hey, this is how we fix it. Not blow up, leave, abandon. The same things that you got when you were a kid. Now, this is a very hard truth, and I'm going to hold your hand while I say it. Some wounds are very deep and very entwined with trauma. Self-work and relationship experiments help a lot, but they're not always enough. If you or your partner experience persistent suicidal thinking or self-harm, ongoing severe depression or disassociation, a history of abuse or complex trauma, repeated cycles of violence or coercion, please seek specialized professional help. Evidence-based therapies like emotionally focused therapy for couples and trauma-informed individuals, EMDR, trauma-focused CBT, IFS, all of these are effective for repairing attachment injuries and trauma. Dr. Andrea Vitz is another very amazing resource that you can use. She's been on the podcast multiple times. If you need her information, again, shoot me an email. EFT in particular has strong outcomes for couples healing attachment wounds. Dr. Sarah Hensley is another one that I really recommend. Now, you don't have to be defined by what happened to you. The mother wound is powerful, but again, it's also learned. And that means that you can learn new patterns. If you will do one thing after this episode, let it be that you commit to one 30-day experiment. Pick one pattern you noticed in your journal exercise, withdrawal, caretaking, perfectionism, etc. Choose one concrete, repeatable behavior that counters it. So a 5-minute check-in, asking for help twice a week, delaying correction for 24 hours. Track it and debrief weekly with your partner with curiosity, not blame. If you do that for 30 days, you create relational evidence that contradicts the old script. That is what healing looks like. Small, consistent, corrective experiences. Now, if this episode landed, please do 3 things. Please save it, share it with one friend who needs this, and DM me a single sentence. What pattern did you notice? I read them and I love hearing your progress. You are braver than you know. Healing is messy, but it is possible, and you don't have to do it alone. I am Cameron Alricki. Thanks for listening, and until next week, stay married and connected. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional counseling or therapy. Every couple story is unique, so take what's helpful and leave the rest. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that neither I, Cameron Thompson Alaricki, Married and Connected, or Recognizing Potential Coaching are responsible for any outcomes related to what you apply from this show, especially if you are not a client of mine.